I think that we are facing challenges for which no one has the answer. And so only collectives have a chance to at least make progress towards solving those challenges. And in order for people to come together, you have to have a place where these people can come and do things together. And cities like Paris are fantastic. If they are more innovative than the sum of the individual, is because they enable the possibility to come together. And that's true of cities, that's true of universities that hyper-concentrate the most motivated students and faculty, but it's also very true of places like the CRI, which tries to take the most innovative people in different disciplines that want to do things beyond the disciplinary boundaries. And if you want to manage such places, you have to manage them the way gardens are managed. So not like industries or factories or armies, but much more like gardens where maybe different flowers will be flourishing, and you maybe want to water more some than others. You may want to take some seeds and some fruits from one place and bring them to another place. But you do need, in the physical and in the digital world, to create a dynamics where not only you enable people to inspire each other and empower each other, but also to document what they do so that others can benefit from what has been done in one place and make this available to another place. And that's the fantastic opportunity that the digital world offers in these days.
I really love the idea of middle ground. I think the idea of connecting grassroots and system players, creating this middle ground is absolutely necessary. So we need to see what solutions work in middle grounds. One of the things is that these solutions cannot be one size fits all. They have to be place tuned. So we need local groups that work with specific cities, specific situation, and create a learning ecosystem that is specific to that region. But they do it with similar philosophy, similar approach, and they leverage the global network that can provide them with resources, approaches, methodologies, and possibly funding. So I think it's a combination of local opportunities and a team that has the strong local identity and is rooted in the place, and a global movement that supports it all the time. This is what we need.
Hi, I'm Vaibhav Chhabra. I run a space called Makers Asylum back in India. We started off as a fab lab or a makerspace in the city of Mumbai. And over the past 5 to 6 years, we kept developing this space, which provided access to infrastructure and all sorts of tools to hardware startups, individuals, hobbyists, designers, architects, engineers to come together and make projects that they wanted to. However, over this journey, we sort of started building our own courses. A lot of people started coming to learn from us how to use these equipment. And what we started doing is, while we were teaching them on how to use the equipment, we also started teaching them how to solve for some of the more challenging problems that the world faces today. And we started positioning our programs, or sort of giving a direction to our programs to, while learning about how to use the tool, also start learning how to solve certain exciting problems.
The more you are working as a team, asking your team that how we can do together, sit around the table and discuss and exchange idea, the more they become like sort of creative, they are really innovative, and they give their idea, and the more you encourage them, the more relaxed they are, the more they are participating.
Universities are key actors to implement and develop these sustainable development goals at different levels, because the 17 SDGs are very broad in terms of objective. So the role of education is key. First, one important objective is inclusion. Make sure that we have inclusive society. What does it mean for higher education? It means that every young people should have access to higher education, not only being able to access it, but also to succeed and get a degree out of it. So here universities have a key role, and we are at European level supporting them in different ways. First, by exchanging best practices between the countries. We don't have a European competence when it comes to education or higher education. It's the responsibility of each member state. But at European level, we have a huge added value in making the countries working together and exchanging best practices.
So if we take the summer school, well, first of all, and this is something we've developed since we started in 2016, several of the projects, several of the teams have come out of an online challenge, this Open 17 challenge. We've selected them. They come to Geneva. We introduce them to mentors from UN agencies and companies and NGOs that we work with, and then they refine their project over 4 weeks, intensive reevaluation of what they're trying to do, with the mentors helping them to avoid reinventing things that may exist already, take into account aspects of the problem they may not have thought of, and pitching every week their project, and we see enormous change over that time. Meanwhile, we're thinking all along which of these projects could go even further, and collaborating with other SDG initiatives around the world.
The idea is to make students actors of their future.
And this is a really awesome approach for learning, because it enables the student to take part in their learning experience. It enables them or empowers them to take control of their own learning.
European universities are alliances of different existing universities from different parts of Europe, from the north, the south, the east, the west. So to make students who work together with researchers, with academics, with the local collectivities, socio-economic actors, but also cities, regions, to work together on these big challenges. I think everybody agrees that to find a solution to the SDGs, we cannot work in isolation. So it's really important to break down the silos from all the different...
Digital tools are not new, and they are more and more criticized because many people fear they might replace real learning. It's, kind of dystopian.
You're absolutely right. The key point is to distinguish between tools and the way you use tools. I selected a few which are really inspiring. We need to fight fear and to act instead.
So when you look at all the different communities, all the learning communities all around the world, one thing which is very striking is the sheer number of initiatives, communities, leaders all around the world that are working and developing things that are just extraordinarily powerful. And one limitation that we have so far is that it's very hard to see, very hard to access all this information and see who is doing what and what is functioning, and how do we access that information, how do we learn from them to do something different or create our own community based on what they're doing. And of course, if you look at that in terms of scale and pure scale, the answer is necessarily, at least in part, digital. Because if you have a platform where those communities can share their knowledge and present what they are doing, and even provide some training session and teacher training or guidance and help, then you can imagine at least 3 different levels where those digital tools can be helpful. The first level is for learning communities themselves, because if you're a big learning community, then to have immediate access to the information of what the others are providing, you can do some knowledge management, you can provide help and support for those who are inside the community to learn better how to contribute. But then there is another level, which is, imagine if you have different communities that are doing a tremendous job, one in Colombia, one in India, and one in Nigeria. So if they can share what they're doing on internet, then one community can learn from the other, and so as a whole, those communities will grow and learn much faster, because they will be able to exchange their best practices. And of course, the third level, if you want, is beyond organizing the learning community itself, and beyond providing help from one community to another, there is for all those people who are not part of those communities, they can see what's happening and they can be helped, or they can be invited to contribute to create their own or to join one that exists. And
the question for me is, are there things about digital learning that may be useful in approaching almost any question, including the accomplishment of the digital goals for sustainability? And I think that in fact, we are at a point where the technology is emerging, not yet finished and certainly not perfected, that will allow us to do much more in teaching and learning, to reach more people more effectively, to personalize education, to find ways of bringing people into teaching and learning experiences who might not otherwise find them accessible.
So the idea is to take online learning, which right now is surprisingly inflexible because it's all in one course, and really put the power, put the agency in the hands of the learners and of instructors that want to use that material.
The question is, with digitization and with new tools, can we change what we think of as the teaching and learning experience? Can we make it better, not only in terms of incorporating it in traditional residential institutions, but across a wide range of teaching and learning opportunities?
For universities, it will help them open their doors much wider than they are now. Because imagine right now, if you're in a situation where, for whatever reason, you're not able to go to university, but you have great experience in several areas, there are problems that you'd like to solve locally, or there's even something that's beyond local that you'd really like to contribute to.
As many people are willing to share their knowledge and experience and to collaborate, we probably need new tools to develop and especially disseminate participatory and citizen research.
I think it does give an enormous opportunity for research to be done by everyone. So that it's not just researchers in universities doing research, but in collaboration with others, with high school teachers, with grade school students, with people that are working in a variety of vocations. There's so much data, experience, and perspective out there that we really have no way to bring that together easily, especially at scale at this point. So I think this greater openness to sharing of experiences is very important. The platform is called Lab Exchange, and I view it as the next evolutionary step in the Open edX platform. So with Open edX, it is the largest MOOC platform that's open source in the world. And one of the things I was very committed to was the idea that whatever platform we design or build, it has to be something that is open source, so that would maximize the breadth of impact that the platform could have. So what Lab Exchange does is that it takes what we know about having MOOCs online, it takes what we know about using video, using kinds of assessment in the context of an online course, but it takes all of those assets and it unbundles them. So that for the first time now, a learner or a teacher can pick and choose what assets from multiple online courses they're interested in, and they can drop them into a new sequence of their own design. They can then add in their own material. And let's say you want to learn about some aspect of clean water, right, in the context of a rural village. You can really put together resources from Harvard, from TU Delft, from the CRE, from Sciences Po, put those together into a new sequence of your own design, add your own material to it, and then that mini course, what we're calling a pathway, is something that you can then share. If you're a teacher, you can share that with your students. If you are a student, you can share it with your class, your best friends, your family, whomever you want.
When we think about the type of solution needed to address the Sustainable Development Goals or educational requirements and how we think about this problem, we're going to need to decide, is this an incremental, are we looking to create an incremental solution or a radical solution?
Instead of basically sharing cat videos, your vacation photographs, what you ate for dinner last night, imagine if you could share a problem that you wanted to solve and what you put together to learn to actually start to solve that problem, so that you can share not just your ideas, but what you learned to create those ideas.
And my opinion is we should aim for a radical solution. We should aim for something that can achieve orders of magnitude greater than what we're achieving now. The rate at which we are progressing on the Sustainable Development Goals now is, the fact is we're not going to hit them if we just continue with what we're doing now. The Learning Map, which is the first project I wanted to talk to you about, is a concept of taking concepts that can be taught, can be learned from existing curricula, extracting them and putting it on a map which can then be deconstructed and leveraged by students around the world. If you think of a curriculum, you learn A, you learn B, then you learn C, you learn D, E, F, G. You know, it's a very linear path. What we are doing is extracting all of those concepts. We are seeding the map with a pathway that's been designed by curriculum experts, but that is only a seed. We then merge the concepts that are similar together, creating this web, this very big mesh, this web. You can think of it as like a Google map, where you have the concepts being addresses and all the pathways in between you could think of as roads, right? And with this information, we can now present a new way of learning to students.
The Learning Planet movement, if I may call it that way, has to be comprehensive. So we need to make sure that people who live in the most remote areas on the globe actually are reached, and then that those people can get the chance not only to be exposed and learn from what has been done elsewhere, but also to contribute.
Just like the iGEM, just like the Arduino, just like many open source projects, if they are openly shared, if there's a standard open license that can be freely used, if there's appropriate credit being given, the community can build on top of itself exponentially, creating solutions which we can't even dream of.
In Niger, for instance, we have established a program called Smart Village, which basically is focusing on connecting the unconnected, but connecting the unconnected by bringing them solution, by connecting them to the rest of the world so that they can learn from the rest of the world, so that they can implement what has been either tested or piloted before elsewhere into their own environment. And so for us, we want to leverage technology as a connecting point, but we want to make sure that we have the right and already validated set of information, set of knowledge that can be disseminated.
This is why the UN decided to celebrate on the 24th of January every year education, as education is the main infrastructure for development, and today really we can say that the key three words we have are knowledge, awareness and action.
I assume that for many people it's scary to think about how education will be like tomorrow. Will teachers disappear? Will interactions disappear?
The COVID-19 pandemic shed a new light on education. Schools and universities had to close and invent, sometimes from scratch, brand new ways of teaching and evaluating students. As we are living many contexts of crisis, notably the COVID-19 crisis, it's a key point to think about new ways to have these places and to see them as complementary with each other. You know, some people are afraid that the digital world is going to overwhelm us and to dominate us, but actually we can invent, we can implement some new places which can be complementary between digital tools and physical tools, and reinvent the way that we can collaborate. It's a bit, well, abstract so far, but maybe the context of crisis invites us to be more innovative than ever.
Yeah, I think this period of COVID has been very special. Okay, we were forced to think very differently about, and to act very differently, and to live very differently. You know, we had to stay at home, and we were forced to redesign the way we interact with one another, the way we manage our time, the way we manage our priorities. And I think in the same time, as we progressively go back to, you know, situations where we are enabled again to interact more physically with one another, we have to reflect on, you know, what's the added value of a face-to-face discussion, what is the added value of, you know, doing things digital, and maybe we can be more picky on, you know, what it is that we want to do one way, what it is that we want to do another way. And maybe we have to invent new means. Maybe we will travel less physically, but we want our ideas to travel more digitally. So we might have to invent the new balance between the physical and the digital world, between the world of ideas and between the world of challenges and constraints that we are all facing. And I think one of the big changes of what has happened recently is the fact that we were all facing the same danger simultaneously. And that, I think, has created a sort of a global community like never before. And it's about time, because we are also facing other global threats, like, you know, the climate change and the biodiversity collapse. I mean, all this we have to face together. And I think that, you know, every crisis, the Chinese tell us, are written with two different ideograms. The first one is danger, and there was many dangers, and the second one is opportunities. And we have to maybe find ways to find new opportunities, and only time will tell us who would have been able to seize those opportunities to create something that is really meaningful and transformative. But I think we do need to empower the youth and invite them to reflect on what they see as the future and enable them to build that future together.
What kinds of global places are today useful to share inspiring and empowering learning experiences? Places that are at the same time digital and physical. Why is it so important to celebrate learning? Because first and foremost, we share energy and hope, notably as we are confronted with various crises.
The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. They will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I liken the WISE Global Summit as akin to a family reunion. And what I would like to see in the next Global Summit, as I do in every Global Summit, is the WISE community coming together, sharing their successes, sharing their failures, revitalizing their commitment to education, re-energizing their strength and their thought processes.